Hey there everyone, welcome back to the Dan Cave and welcome to another video build, and this time the video build is of the Italeri 1/72nd scale F-4C Phantom. So, kit from Italeri, it's boxed as basically F4 C, D or J Phantom aces. So the kit itself gives you 4 options, 2 F4Ds, an F4J and an F4C. Various US Air Force and 1 US Navy option of reasonably successful air-to-air pilots from the Vietnam era. So, Robin Owens, Steve Ritchie, Jeffrey Feinstein, Randy Cunningham. So I picked up this boxing. I'd built some of the Italeri F4s 72nd scale many years ago. A reasonably good kit from what I recall. Built a Revell one a few years back as well. The F4J, bit hit and miss. I kind of got this one and picked it up and wanted to see if it was as good as I remembered it, basically. Not quite. But nonetheless, so this video build's I'm gonna build the F4D version. Sorry, C version. Yeah, C version. Robin Owens one. And this is the video build. So if you're new here, please subscribe. If you like the video, give it a like and feel free to leave a comment. So, relatively short video build, so I'm not going to hang around and bore you. Sit back, put your feet up, watch the build, and I'll come back with some final thoughts at the very end. So, over we go. In the box is I suppose you call it the usual kind of build sequence for something like a Phantom. 2 main fuselage halves. Lower kind of wing is all one piece, upper wing is separate piece left and right. And of course, starting with getting all those main components off the sprue to start all that basic cleanup of any sprue points. A little bit of dry fitting just to get an idea of how I think it's going to assemble at this stage. Looking out for any of the major kind of gap areas that may come up. But once that kind of basic initial cleanup is done, it's time to start work on the cockpit, as that's the kind of main focus of the first part of the build before the fuselage halves can go together. So the seats come as a separate left and right half, and then there's a top piece which has the ejection seat grab handles as well, and then there's an instrument panel for the front and rear cockpit section and control column as well. So it's not a huge amount of detail on the cockpit, but not too bad for a 72nd scale, and its decals are supplied for the instrument panels. So first job, of course, is to prime all the cockpit areas in UMP black. And just priming with that base of black gives a nice kind of dark colour for recessed areas. So when I applied the grey colour, you get a little bit of tonal variation, and it just adds a little bit of character and depth to the cockpit area. There's zero detail on the sidewalls, and they're sprayed grey as well. So even though there's no detail, it's basically invisible in there anyway. So it's a little bit of brush painting for seat cushions, just painting them in a olive drab type colour, I guess. I can't remember which Revell number it is. So a little bit of fine brush painting. And then, of course, the instrument decals can be added to the panels as required. So decals are absolutely fine. Cartograph decals from for this Italeri kit. And as you can see, that cockpit tub will then get glued into the one half of the fuselage. And then, of course, once that's nicely glued together, can then glue the other fuselage half. So it's worth just kind of focusing on the front end, get that all glued together. And then once the fuselage halves are glued together, the upper wings can then be mated to the lower wings. And because there was going to be a noticeable gap, I'm now gluing some very thin plastic card into the wing root area, which will be trimmed back, and that will help me fill the noticeable wing root gap. So I'm taking the same approach for the engine intakes. Once they're firmly glued in place, I can just trim off the excess with some sharp scissors or with a scalpel blade. And once they're in place, I can then glue the intakes in place. So the interiors of the intakes have already been primed and painted at UMP white. Once the intakes have been on and fully cured, I'm then going to use the D-Spay reciprocating sander just to knock down the high points and see if any further remedial work is required. At the root of the wing as well, where I've inserted some plastic hard shims, that's also sanded back. That's a chance to see how good of a fit I could get out of this lower wing when mated to the fuselage. And funnily enough, it's actually not too bad. It's only this area right here, so just behind the two forward Sparrow missile rails, there's a noticeable gap. And of course, just like with the upper part of the intakes, once that's fully cured, I'm going to use the reciprocating sander just to knock back any of the high points. I'll be honest, I do find the reciprocating sander a very useful tool. Nowhere near as aggressive as I thought it was going to be. And it's become a regular use for any of my sanding work. So once all that is completely cured and sanded back, I've added the canopy glazing because I'm going to go for a closed canopy. So that's been glued in place. And I'm now just masking up any of the clear areas, as that will sit under the masking throughout the painting process. So as you can see, I've left the elevator stabilizers off at this stage. They can be popped on a little bit towards the end of the build. So everything's going to be primed in UMP black. The nice good dark base coat. Get in all the nooks and crannies and then get your overall coats down. So I think I've only used about 2 coats of UMP black. Provides a perfectly good base. Once that's cured for about 6 to 8 hours, because I'm putting an acrylic over it, which is Vallejo Model Air. So they've got a Southeast Asia paint set, basically Vietnam camouflage set. And I'm using the underside grey and building it up in a mottled scheme. Basically just to give that element of tonal variation to the underside. Just so it's not that kind of monotone solid grey. Build it up slowly and then everything can be blended down with a little bit of an overall coat, which to the naked eye it looks a lot more kind of mottled than it does on the video, and trust me, I was quite pleased with the result. So once that's done, it's time to start work on the camouflage scheme, starting with the tan first, again from Vallejo Model Air. Just mapping out the areas that the tan sits, same approach, mottling it up, slowly building up the coats, giving a bit of colour variation, bit of tone variation, bit of depth. And this detail work is done with the H&S Infinity with the 0.15 needle set. So once the tan is fully cured, I've made some masks based on, well, basically what was printed in the instructions. Cut them out of masking tape and using them as a basis for laying down the 2 green colours. So go with the lighter green first, then some further masking, and then it'll be onto the darker green. And once that paint is fully done and fully cured, it's time to get some decals down. So decals are a normal process, warm water, UMP decal solutions. Decals are from Cartograph, so they go down absolutely fine. Straight down on the paint finish, no gloss coat needed. And just work them into place with the UMP decal solutions. Plenty of stencils as well. All of those stencils are legible. Decal sheet is very, very good from Italeri. And then once they're all in place, there is one area I did forget to mask and paint, and that was just the white for the landing gear base. So a little bit of masking, a little bit of shielding, and they can be masked and painted. So once all that is cured, it has been given a gloss coat. So I was using aqua gloss, and now I'm just adding a little bit of chipping. Because any reference photos I've seen of this specific aircraft, it is heavily weathered and heavily worn looking. So I'm just adding some chipping using a very fine detailed paintbrush and some Revell aluminium paint. And once all that is in place and I'm happy it's fully cured, I'm going to add a dark wash from Ammo MIG into all the panel lines. Panel lines are recessed and are quite finely engraved on this kit. Pleasantly surprised. Maybe a little bit inaccurate in some places, but it gives a good enough effect and makes the wash present but slightly subtle as well, which is exactly what I kind of want from a panel line wash on a 72nd scale aircraft. So once that's had a bit of curing time, using some odorless mineral spirits and some kitchen towel and some cotton buds just to clean off any excess and just leave the very faint panel wash that I need. So once I'm satisfied with the panel wash, I'm now adding some Ammo MIG oil brushers. So I've just decanted some onto a piece card. I'm just mixing some clay, some earth into a variety of different shades, and I'm just adding them in random areas around the underside. Again, just to simulate that additional dirt. I've then decided to add some pigments for, well, mainly around the back end of the aircraft where most of the kind of heat staining in the engines are. So mainly using some darker tones. Once I'm satisfied with that, it's then on to the final assembly, adding the landing gear, main wheels. Landing gear doors will go on as well. Engine exhausts get popped into place. So they were painted using Alclad steel and gunmetal. And then a little bit of CA glue to add the Sparrow missiles. Which again, the decal sheet from Italeri was absolutely brilliant and really enhances the look of these missiles. And it's a full complement on this kit. So I'm going to have the 4 sidewinders and the 2 drop tanks. So elevators are now added. And that is basically the kit complete. So that gloss coat, that's been knocked back using some, I think it was Ammo MIG Ultra Matte Lucky Varnish, which has knocked it right back to a nice matte colour. And I'll be honest, I'm very, very pleased with how this kit has turned out. I think it's got the right level of weathering that I like for 72nd scale. So let's head back to me for some final thoughts and random musings about how this kit has gone together. So yeah, let's head back to me. So there we go. That's the video build done of the F-4C Robin Owens aircraft from the Italeri 72nd scale kit. What did I think of it? Kit quality was better than I possibly expected. Probably not as good as I remembered it. Fond memories of building a couple of these many, many years ago. Yeah, they're showing their age now. You know, bit of flash, bit of misalignment. Overall shape looks good. Usual issues with Phantoms, intakes and lots of filling around kind of areas like that. Other than that it built up pretty well. Cockpit lacks quite a bit of detail, but 72nd scale, you can get away with kind of a lack of detail with some, just a little bit of painting, you know. You don't really need the finest of detail and 70-second scale to get away with it. Could be better, you know, could be better instrument panel, could be better kind of control columns, sidewalls, that kind of stuff. Lots of area could be improved, but you know, it was built from the box, and I'll be honest, I actually really enjoyed it. It was a nice kind of nice build. Always liked Phantom. F4J I built from Revell, even though that was a pig of a kit, I really enjoyed it. This one is a slightly better kit, and I did enjoy it. And I'll be honest, the decals were spot on, you know, as is usual from Italeri these days, because they use cartograph decals. And yeah, I wouldn't say I'll pick another one up, but I would be tempted, just because it goes together really well. It's a nice simple build of an iconic F-4C Phantom, or if I get the kit again, it could be of a J or it could be of a D, who knows. But nonetheless, there we go, that's the build done. Really enjoyed it, pleased with the outcome. Hope you enjoyed the video. Of course, if you're new here, please subscribe, please like the video and drop a comment down below. So thank you once again for watching, and I'll see you all very, very soon. So bye bye for now.